Welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast, the go-to podcast for people who are called to make a positive impact through the power of coaching. You'll hear encouraging stories from coaches sharing their journeys and their lessons learned along the way, tips from top experts who help coaches thrive in their life and their business, and so much more. So if you're ready to create a business and a life of impact that you love, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love podcast. I am one of your hosts, Chantal Cox. I am an author, a speaker, a transformation neuro coach, and a certified life purpose coach.
And I am Guin White, a quantum human design specialist and virtual coach.
Together, Guin and I are on a mission to dramatically transform and create community in the coaching industry. And we do that by supporting you in saying no to all the complicated cookie cutter strategies that just lead to burnout, and instead saying yes to simplification with a focus on alignment, service, and impact.
Yes, love that. And with our combined experience and areas of expertise, we're here to help you create aligned momentum in your business and in your life. And a quick shout out to our sponsor, the Create a Life You Love membership, an active community of passionate, purpose-driven coaches who are up-leveling in the most powerful ways to increase their knowledge, their momentum, and their impact. For more information and to apply, check out createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership today.
Perfect. Any links we share today will definitely be in the show notes, so don't even worry about that. And we are so super excited to welcome author, mentor, and thought leader Barb Ashcroft to the podcast. Barb is the result of someone who has always been hungry to learn and then implement the principles of personal development. It has made her a hub where people value her wisdom and her expertise to help them navigate life's highway. As an entrepreneur, she helps others find renewed purpose and joy in their journey. So welcome, Barb. We're so happy to have you on the show. How are you? And tell us what it means to be a hub.
Well, thank you, ladies. It's just wonderful. It's a real blessing for me to be here. And my 40 plus years as an entrepreneur, what has manifested from that is I love to learn and I love to share. And so being a hub is throughout all those past years, whatever I learned, I packaged to be able to train my team or my clients to be able to implement that. So whether it's somebody else they need to see, or it's a specific tool or a strategy, I love strategies. So there you go.
Oh boy, Guin, you're going to be so excited as she's sharing all this amazingness. I'm like, I wonder what her human design is.
Exactly. I know. I want us to start asking everyone their birth information so that we can find out everyone's human design. But yeah, I know immediately I started thinking about what Barb's human design might be. I was actually checking out your website recently. I love all of your offerings. And of course, I'm really curious about one of your workshops in particular, getting your shenanigans in order. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your path to becoming a mentor, author, thought leader. We'd love to know kind of what you did before you did all of these things. What got you started on your path to creating a life you love?
Well, I'll try and do the Reader's Digest version because it's rather convoluted. But how I got into all of this, and believe it or not, my husband still doesn't believe it, but 54 years ago when we got married, I was shy. I wouldn't even go to a cinema by myself because I'd feel obvious. I was that shy. But anyways, I ended up with some burnout, stress-related issues from my banking career. And at that point, I was connected to some wonderful people that really helped me. And also at that very same time, I ended up learning way back, iridology, which is the science of reading the iris of the eye to see the health of the body. So that took me from looking at my shoes to looking at people's faces. And that was a first big step. But as I put my toe in the water of natural health and seeing all that was happening to me, and it just morphed into a natural health business. And then, of course, there's only one of me. So you do better as a team. There's only so many hours in the day and weeks in the year that you can be available. And so I was just blessed to be able to be in a position to work with others. And one of the earliest things I recall was a training I had that your product isn't your product. Your service isn't your product. People are your product. So learn everything you can about people skills, and then you can serve better, be better, and excel better. And so that really helped with all of that. But I love personal development. I'm super, super blessed because I trained under Zig Ziglar. I trained under Jim Rohn. I've, Stephen Covey, all of these ones. And they made a huge impact in even, the tiny little nuggets that you can take and then share and apply to your life. So there was so much goodness there that it just morphed into more good stuff in my life. So that's hopefully a Reader's Digest version of some of that.
That's amazing. Those names and that you got to study under them. That's just could talk to you
Incredible.
all day.
Exactly.
Take your brain and just soak it all in. Like I want to
Exactly. I want to hear more about the iridology too. But yeah, it's all really incredible.
So cool. Well, while we were looking over like your podcast guest application and different things, kind of finding out about you, I just love to hear some of the inspiration from some of the taglines you use. A couple that stood out to me were like, get off your RAS and years
Off
are
your
not
RAS.
measuring stick. Yeah. And of course, within the title of this episode is you just gotta wanna. So what do these mean and how did you come up with them?
Wow. Well, the RAS, let's start with that. And you ladies with your modalities are probably very familiar with the reticular activating system. But I was fortunate to be in many workshops where it was taught and trained that we all have this master secretary that's in the brainstem, and its job is to sort out all of the stuff that's coming at you and to sort out what you are really focusing on, what is predominant. So again, a thought is a thing. And so here we go with being able to focus on what are you focusing on right now. One of the things I've started to do with this year is I'm in the process of my notebook by my bed is I have to fill a whole page of what I'm grateful for. That happened that day, so that when I close my eyes at night, that's what I'm focusing on. That's the RAS being fed. So of course, if you're just thinking of all the grit and ugliness that's out there, then of course that just compounds as well. So it's a cute saying of get off your RAS instead of your ass and be focusing on getting the good stuff into you is so important. And it's not a new thought by any stretch, but whatever we do, we have to be cognizant and aware and being the gatekeepers for what's going into this vehicle here. Because otherwise, it may not end up being what you want it to be. So that was the RAS part. Sorry, Chantal, what was the second one that you focused on?
I definitely want to hear about the you just gotta wanna.
Oh goodness, yes. That really stood out for me as far as, of course, I've been for decades in, multi-level network marketing. And I have a really strong BS meter. It's, and what I would be offended by would be people that would come and just with their machine gun shoot whatever it was all over you without asking whether you were interested. And so I've been in the process of applying that process, that the people on my team, they're there because they want to be. So that was the criteria, was it might be a yes or it might be a no, but you gotta wanna. You gotta wanna take the products, because I'm not in your back pocket to remind you. You gotta wanna make sure that you have enough. So when you're down to 2 capsules, you don't phone me in distress because I can't help you. If you're whatever it is, you gotta wanna. And when I signed my first application for joining a company, I made a decision. And this is November 10th, actually, 1981, when I made that decision. And I agreed to myself, I made an agreement. I actually wrote out an agreement. And I agreed for 1 year, I would not make a decision whether it was yes or no. I would just keep plodding along, doing what I need to do, follow the manual, follow what I'm being trained. And after a year, I could decide. So it was a matter of being committed to whatever it was. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship, and especially forums like what you gals have, is it's people who are serious-minded, heart-driven people that have a passion. And so that's the kind of people that I am in the process of continuing to expand my network with, because wishy-washy won't get it done. It's got to be a commitment to whatever it is that we're endeavoring to start and do and succeed in.
Wow. Yeah. I love that idea of you just got to wanna, as essentially encapsulating the idea of commitment or devotion, something that is really important to me. In your book, When Your Bucket List Springs a Leak, which is an awesome title, you really talk about, kind of this overarching idea of the importance of resilience. And maybe going hand in hand with commitment, can you give us some kind of advice, practical advice on how to build resilience as an entrepreneur?
Wow. Well, thank you so much. That book, which, is do-overs, undos, and life preservers when business, travel, health, life don't go as expected, that actually is dedicated to my dad. And my dad, I might get a little teary here today, it would have been his 100th birthday. And he lived by a principle that when I was writing the book, I had the best, my girlfriend calls it an epiphany. And it was that his legacy had made it into me. And here's his legacy. His legacy was he grew up through the 30s, and their supper table every night, no matter, he said they didn't have a dime to roll down the street. It was very severe. But every night, the family principle was nobody could eat until they went around the whole table and shared what's the nicest thing that's happened to you today. This day, what's the nicest thing? And so everywhere we went, that was my dad saying. We'd go to a restaurant and he would not let the waitress finish taking his order until she told him, what's the nicest thing that's happened to you today? And she would, oh, no, 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 no. What's the nicest thing? He would absolutely pull out gratitude from people. And that's what's so key, is to be able to, again, with Raz, focusing on the goodness. What are we grateful for? Because we could certainly, there's an angel on this shoulder, a devil on this one, but we have the vote. So are we going to be God driven or not? So anyway, so that was just, that's a real key thing. But bounce back ability, resiliency in business, that absolutely crucial. Be the willow and bend. Another wonderful trainer, Jerry Clark, DeRhino. He just shares all the rhinoceros success on that. But I was having a coaching session with him, and you're probably familiar with the different personality types that we all have. And where I was at that point in my life, I was very detailed. I was very segmented, task orientated, all of that. And he said, Barb, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? Because if you're right all the time, it means somebody else is wrong. And so just putting that into, feel good terminology, it's like, wow, how important is it, going back to, 12-step program, how important is it that you're right in this particular issue? Yes, we all have our core values that we thrive from. And I'm really huge on finding your renewed purpose with your top 4 fulfillment needs. And that's why I love being here today, ladies, because community and connection are 2 of my top 4 fulfillment needs. And that's really key, to be able to find strategies to fill those, whatever your journey is. That's where you find the joy. When you have all 4 being fulfilled at the same time, man, you're in the zone. Nothing can sway you, but learning and stepping back, being aware and saying, oh, okay, wow, yes. If I can give you a quick example, even though I've been in natural health since 81, I am not drawn to exercise. It's not, find me a wonderful couch with a blankie, some hot cocoa, give me a pad of paper and let me write, let me just think, let me plan, let me dream, I operate up here. The other limbs, not so much, but I know exercise is crucial. So knowing that, what I did is I used the strategy of signing up at a ladies' fitness for exercise groups. And I went there and to get my community and my connection and my accomplishment goals filled for the day. Yes, I exercised. Yes, that was a byproduct, but that was a strategy to help me, because there's lots of issues or things all of us have that would rather, it's not high on our priority list. But if you know it's important, you can you can strategize to find what those are. And same with being an entrepreneur, same with your business. It's a matter of what are those top 4 fulfillment needs and how are you going to meet?
It's so incredibly powerful. Um, I really want to capture some of your brilliantness with how long you've been doing this. And I just can't even imagine how much it's evolved since the 80s to 2023, where now we've got all this crazy like artificial intelligence and like it's just insane right now. But as a mentor who you've been on this journey for a long time, you've helped other people that you're mentoring. What would you say are some of the most important tips for other women that are on this journey of building an online business or coaching, that kind of industry?
None of us do it alone. None of us do it alone. We all have to find a community where we have edu networking, where we have encouragement, where you've got your own coach, where you've got your own mentor, where you can safely vent and just let that go. But none of us, even if we're solopreneurs, we still need to have a community of like-minded people that are not just, like I say, spewing that machine gun of stuff at us, but really come from a giver's gain mentality. And I think that's really, really, really key. Find the pond that you want to fish in. And I have my ponds. I have 2 ponds that I fish in, but that's because after all this time, I found where people are helpful, where you can grow those connections to be deeper. And I think that's key.
So important and so fundamental. I love that. Yeah, a lot of what we think of as business and going into business is complicated, but frankly, keeping things simple and foundational is probably one of the better strategies. I'm sure you've made, and I know you've made an incredible impact on so many people's lives. As long as you've been doing this and just hearing you speak, you have so much, of course, to be grateful for, proud of. I'm really curious, what do you want your legacy to be?
Right now, I'm at a different season in my life, and that is about a year and a half ago now, I had 4 friends that became widows in a very short period of time, really a matter of weeks. And I never knew how to respond with people that are in grief. But having 4 all of a sudden wallop at you, I had to stand back and thought, how do I serve these? How do I help these? And so I went back, which thank you, Lord, I went back to being a hub and thought, okay, somebody knows there's resources out there. And so what I did, I was my coach, my mastermind coach at the time, was really helping me with that. She said, what is it that your ideal clients or friends, what questions are keeping them awake at night? And I broke down bawling in the ugly cry because I could see, I could envision, what about finances? Do I have enough to live on? Who am I now? I was a couple, now I'm a single, what about all the legal mumbo jumbo that's coming at me like crazy? How do I deal with all this? So what I started was just interviewing on Zoom individuals that were experts that sit across from grieving folks, saying, okay, what about your identity, etc. And that has morphed into a passion project that I'm so thrilled with, called Compassion in Action. And it's not targeting the grieving person so much. What it's targeting is the people surrounding the grieving person, to know what to say, what to do, how to respond, how to support, how to be, you know, the hands and feet of Jesus, basically, being able to do that in a really sharing, caring way. And so I have now over a year's interviews that I've deposited into a Patreon account so that I can host them there, all of them, and that people can access and go through and find the right mentor for where they're at, whether it's, you know, I have one lady that her mom committed suicide and she's a suicide bereavement coach. I have another one that lost her son, her grown son to you know, all, and then all of the coaches and financial and legal and all of those aspects. And it's just heartwarming to be able to do that. But what has now happened is, since I've been doing that for over a year, I found by interviewing these people that many of the ones left behind have been left with chaos and mess and family dissension because stuff wasn't in order. Their shenanigans wasn't in order. And so I'm just so tickled. I'm just so blessed because I've been able to take all of those little tips and tools and create a follow at your own pace workshop to make their own binder of what's necessary, all those key things. And wow, that has been just so rewarding. And maybe it's because of my age, like, you know, a couple of months I'm going to be 75, so maybe I have a lot of people around me that are going through loss. But to tell you the truth, COVID was wicked for businesses, for marriages, for relationships, for all kinds of mental health. So there's a lot of loss. It's not just death, it's getting your stuff in order. And my husband's so funny. He said, "You're talking about this a lot. Do you know something that I don't know?" And I said, "No, this is a love project because our kids need to be equipped so that they have the binder, so that they know everything, so they can actually grieve instead of the chaos." And so that's what my present focus is. I just want to be able to have that legacy of removing that 600 pounds of stress and worry about what if, and be able to have a simple binder that here it is. This is all the stuff you need to know in one little binder, that's where you tell your loved one where to find it. So
That's brilliant. And yeah, what an amazing resource. Well, both of those resources, the Patreon library and the step-by-step self-paced course, if you will, on how to put together this very simple but so necessary binder of information. So we'll definitely want to get links to those things so that we can share them with our listeners, many of whom I'm sure will love to take advantage of what you're offering. And yeah, what a beautiful legacy.
Absolutely. Two things really stood out, and I'm going to try not to cry when I talk about the second one, but really trying hard to hold it together right now. But the first one, I'll start with like a happy one, get myself back self-regulated. So I love the binder. Like, my dad is in the military, and it is a family tradition that started when I was maybe in late high school that I thought was so morbid and weird, and I hated it. And now seeing friends lose their parents, I'm so thankful for it, because every year he updates his will, and every year we sit down and he's like, "Where's your key?" And so I'm like, "I've got the key to the fire safe box." And he's like, "So put it in there, let me see it." And I'm like, "Oh, it still works." And he's like, "Okay, so you're going to get out this piece of paper and it says exactly first person to call." And like, it has everything laid out, and all the arrangements have been made. His funeral's fully paid for. And so if it's him and my mom that go at the same time, I'm the oldest, and a lot of those decisions have been made, and that I can focus on grieving and not be in the chaos. And so now that I'm older, I see that as like one of the most loving things that a parent can do. And so I love that you've made this resource accessible, because he's organized. That's like his jam, and I've inherited that apparently. But not everybody is. So to have a structured thing, I just think is so amazing, Barb. And then the second thing is, you were originally scheduled last month. We were going to meet around this time last month, and I think you were in Hawaii. Is that right?
Well, I was heading to Hawaii, but where I was crappy Wi-Fi, and it was cutting out on me all the time. And I really wanted to do a good job for you.
And I so appreciate that. But right now, I'm really appreciating just like the divine timing of everything,
Mhm.
because I need that resource. I need that hub. And so do a lot of my friends right now.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No.
It's my friend's story, so I'm not going to say much, but we have a friend going through a really hard time right now who just lost somebody unexpectedly, and we all don't know how to support her. So I will be looking at that resource and sharing that. So thank you for creating that. And Gwen, I'm going to let you take it from there.
Absolutely.
Can I jump in for a second?
Please do,
Can-
Barb.
Can I share a quick tip that helps a lot of us? And I'm grabbing my Kleenex too, because I can cry at commercials. So
Me too.
is I think this is a really helpful tool for all of us. Many times when we have a friend that's lost someone, the first thing we do is we ask, "How are you?" But if you stand back and look at it, that's putting pressure on that person to respond, because they don't want to let you down. And they might be fine now, and 5 minutes later, a basket case. So I've come up with, well, I've learned, I haven't come up with it on my own. I've learned a new thing to say. And that is, if you're in person, how about saying, "So good to see your face." Or if you're on the phone, "It's so good to hear your voice." Make a statement that doesn't require a response, so that they know, being able to edify these ones in their tough times, just saying, "I know you're going through so much, but look at you. You even put on your makeup today. I'm so proud of you." Being able to honor those, that fragile, sacred time. And if they're sharing with you their stuff, what happened, receive it as a sacred time, that you have been blessed, that they feel safe around you to tell you about it, because it truly is really sacred. Another thing, and just call me out when you need to, but I use a wonderful app, and because many of us, all of us, when we go through loss, we have a community that, whether they bring food or hugs or whatever, they're there for the short haul. But 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, a year later, their address book has shrunk drastically. So follow the nudge is an app free app you can look up, and it allows you to put in the special person's name and the details, whether it's the angel anniversary date when their loved one passed, or their marriage anniversary or birthday or whatever. You can put those dates in and then set a reminder a week or 10 days ahead and be able to plan a card, a phone call, a visit to be with them during those times. I have to tell you, from somebody that uses that app, there is nothing better knowing a year later that a special card I created or I made is arriving in their mailbox at the right time, so they know we're still standing with you. Because it takes community. It takes all of us. Nobody should grieve alone. So Chantal, my heart breaks with you. I know exactly just how raw and real that is, but by all means, do plug into that resource. It will provide some wonderful encouragement.
Thank you so much. And I'll be looking up that app and I will include it in the show notes. I had gone in my calendar and made recurring events, but yes, I love this app idea and can't wait to look into it.
Definitely. Barb, this has been so powerful. It went in a whole different direction, I'm sure, than we all expected, but grief and loss, like you mentioned, is really prevalent right now. It's everywhere. Whether people are grieving the loss of a job, a lifelong career, or a loved one. So it's, this is really timely, and it's so wonderful that, you were, ahead of the curve, if you will, on a lot of this. And so we definitely want to make sure that we get the information from you. It has been incredible having you on and getting to know you a bit and having you as our guest. And I wrote down the quote, "Do you want to be right or do you want to be rich?" Was that Jerry Clark again who said that? Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted
Jerry
to make sure I
DeRino.
attribute it to the correct person.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, again, such an honor to have you as a guest on the Create a Life You Love podcast today, Barb. And of course, I also want to thank you for generously offering a free gift to our audience. If you want, please tell us a little bit about the Compassion Toolkit and where it can be accessed.
Okay, well, I know you're going to put the link because it has dashes and underscores and all that jazz in there. But it is what to do or say. And it actually is a compilation of some of the nuggets from the interviews where we go into those key questions that people have when they're going through loss and how to support those individuals in a bigger, better way. Some are extremely humorous. Some are downright heartwarming, and a little bit of everything, but it is the video interviews as well as some other nuggets of books and podcasts, etc., that people can access to just be a support, just to be around, be the real virtual hug that we can offer. So, and that also puts people onto my newsletter that I send out monthly with new interviews, etc., that also will go into that. But if I could just add one more freebie, because this is current right now, is I've just opened up my Patreon account, and it's patreon.com/compassion in action. And it comes with a free 30-day pass to view in entirety all the videos that are in there and different tools that I placed. And so there's no fee. Normally Patreon, which you probably know, is a fund-based, community funded, to be able to find out, who's passionate, who wants to keep this endeavor going. But the videos were just too long to be in the newsletter. Nobody would ever watch the entirety. So we needed a place to plunk them. And so we have all of that there. So they can access that 30 days, check them out. If you want to be a patron and make a contribution, you're very welcome to do that. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely add that link to the show notes. And of course, if people want to connect with you, what and where, what platform or platforms, where can they find you?
Probably the most comprehensive right now would be LinkedIn.
Okay.
BJ Ashcroft is my LinkedIn handle. That's where I'm really spending a lot of time right now. I am on Facebook. I do have Facebook groups, etc. But where I've got the biggest composite of my resources is probably you'd find on LinkedIn.
Beautiful. And the Passion for Compassion, is that on your website?
Compassion in Action is, I think you'll find, I do link that to my workshops on my website, barbashcroft.ca/workshop, but
Perfect.
it goes into more detail there. So I'm in the process of finding the right words and the right terminology to rework my website. So it's a little off kilter right now, but it still has information on it, but not as targeted. That need to go to the workshops page to really get to the bullets.
Perfect. We'll make sure then that we use that link if people want to visit your website. And then of course, we'll direct them to LinkedIn and Facebook as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you so much. Chantal, do you want to say a few words or do you want me to close out today?
I will let you close out. I just really, really want to thank you, Barb, and very grateful for the timing. This is going to be very, very meaningful for the community that's coming around my friend right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you again, Barb, for joining us. Our listeners have really been so inspired by what you've shared. And speaking of our listeners, we would love to ask them what their takeaways are from today. And also to please share this episode with someone that you think would benefit from it. Also leaving a review at ratethispodcast.com/CALYL for Create a Life You Love is always appreciated. You can quickly and easily leave a review from any device by grabbing that link in the show notes. And of course, if our approach is resonating with you and you too want to be a part of the Create a Life You Love movement and help create community, dramatically transform the coaching industry, we are currently accepting applications for the Create a Life You Love membership. Just head to createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. Of course, that link will be in the show notes. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for all your feedback and support. Enjoy the journey.
Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. We would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with us on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you are ready to build aligned and sustainable momentum without overwhelm and burnout, we invite you to apply for the Create a Life You Love membership on our website, createalifeyoulovecoaching.com/membership. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.